Regular meeting number 54 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Mitch Brown, would you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. This evening, we are joined via WebEx by Pastor Jonathan Bradford of Bethany Baptist Church to pray over council. Pastor, welcome to council.
Council President Harden, I don't see Mr. Bradford listed on the list. I was just informed by Ms. Nancy that he was having some technical difficulties and he would like to do that next week.
Certainly. We're going to have Councilmember Tyson cover us this evening.
Dear Lord, we come to you first of all and just say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to live another day. Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to serve this community. Very few people get this opportunity to help work with the community, to make a difference in our community. So we thank you for allowing us to do the work that we, each and every one of us enjoy. Lord, we thank you for the community again for allowing us to do it. And Lord, tonight is such a special night as we honor Councilmember Mitchell Brown. We thank you for his life. We thank him for his service, not only to this community, but he has certainly served our state and he has certainly served our country. So we thank you for allowing him to be on this earth, to be able to serve, and to make such a difference in all the lives of so many people. We thank him, God, we thank you for allowing him to have the family that you have provided him to allow him to do this work. So Lord, we just thank you for what you do for us each and every day. But Lord, we also just thank you for all the many and mighty blessings and how you continue to show us grace and mercy. And tonight, Lord, we ask that you preside over this meeting and allow us to do the work of the people and continue to help to move our community forward. Lord, we thank you. We honor you. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
This week's communications received by the City Clerk Office are printed on the agenda and will be published in the City Bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
None at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We will now go around the dais to see if anybody has any resolutions or announcements to the public, starting with President Pro Tem. Councilmember Mitch Brown.
Nothing this evening, sir. Thank you.
Councilmember Dorans.
Just really quick, so we had an announcement last week about the launch of Opportunity Port, which is a joint project between the Columbus City Council and a number of community partners. This project brings criminal record sealing services to many in our community that are eligible for those services, but otherwise don't have access to a pro bono lawyer or other types of ways to be able to support them. So we've already had over 100 folks in our community already submit applications through this project. Wanted to take this moment just to allow folks that may be watching to check out opportunityport.org and certainly get that out to their networks, because we truly believe that this is an incredible tool to make sure that folks in our community that have made a mistake in their past don't continue to suffer the consequences of that mistake years down the line. Academic research shows that once someone has their criminal record sealed after they paid their debt to society, they see an over 20% increase in their earnings for their family. That is an incredible, incredible jump for families that are struggling. So I just want to take this opportunity tonight to highlight that. Again, that's opportunityport.org, and encourage members of the community that might be watching to check out that website and see if they themselves or their family members may be helped by that, or if they're participating in any organizations that would be interested in that work. Lastly, I'll say we are in need of pro bono lawyers to help folks in that process. So if you are an attorney that's out there and looking to give back to your community, please contact my office at radorns@columbus.gov, and we will connect you with one of our legal partners that's helping to organize attorneys in our community for this vital service. So thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
That's awesome. Awesome work. And I know Councilmember Favor helped on that as well, but very proud of that initiative. Councilmember Favor. Councilmember Remy. Welcome back to Councilmember Favor.
Thank you, Council President Harden. I have one resolution and two announcements this evening. Tonight, I present Resolution 244X 2021 to honor, recognize, and celebrate Santino's crusades for a cancer-free world for its continued advocacy, dedication, and contributions to cancer research. Whereas Santino Carnevale has found himself within the cancer world the entirety of his life, in March 2006, just 10 days after Santino's parents, Michael and Brooke Carnevale, discovered they were expecting a child, his father was diagnosed with adenoid cystic carcinoma, a rare head and neck cancer. In 2015, at 9 years of age, Santino Carnevale made the decision to stand up and do something in the fight against cancer. At such a young age, he had already possessed a desire to help others by raising awareness and funds for head and neck cancers. Santino began by organizing a lemonade stand and bake sale. The first year of the lemonade stand, Santino's efforts raised an astounding $5,000, and he has never looked back. Santino formed his initiative known as Santino's Crusade for a Cancer-Free World. Santino Carnevale has raised roughly $130,000 over the past 5 years, with more than $100,000 donated to the James Cancer Hospital. Wow. Santino is widely known throughout the James as one of the youngest adolescents to establish a fund and is often referred to as Santino the Cancer Crusader. Santino created the Head and Neck Cancer Strategic Support Fund at the OSU OSUCC James in his beloved father's honor in 2015. Santino has also served as a member of the James Ambassadors Society of the OSUCC James and is the youngest member inducted into that society. He is an inspiration to all at the James Cancer Hospital and an invaluable member of the Central Ohio community. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Columbus to honor, recognize, and celebrate Santino's crusades for a cancer-free world for its continued advocacy, dedication, and contributions to cancer research at The Ohio State University James Cancer Center. Joining us this evening from The Ohio State University's Comprehensive Cancer Center, the James, we have Dr. Matthew Old, Director of the Department of Otolaryngology. I hope I said that close to right. Dr. Old, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy, Council President Harden, and other members of the council, and thank you for allowing me to participate in this resolution for the impactful work of Santino Carnival. It's an honor to be here today. I've known Santino and his family for years, and I'm proud of the work that he's accomplished to find a cure and really make a difference for a rare head and neck cancer that took the life of his father. We are humble and proud of all of his efforts that he's done at such a young age, and he continues to be an inspiration to more and more people as his journey continues. Thank you, Santino, for continuing to fight for a cancer-free world. And Councilmember Remy, thank you again for allowing me to participate in tonight's resolution.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ohl. We appreciate you being here this evening. Certainly, it's an honor for me to recognize you and the work that you've done on behalf of your father and all of cancer survivors or cancer victims in this country. So without further ado, I'm very pleased to have Santino Carnevale and his mother, Brooke Carnevale, join us this evening. Santino, I think it goes without saying that we are all very proud of the work you are doing and honored to witness its impact on Central Ohio residents and people across the world. So, Santino, Brooke, the floor is yours.
Thank you for recognizing my fundraising efforts. Many thanks to all my friends and family who support me. Raising money for cancer research lets me know that I'm having an impact on families going through what I went through. My hope is that one day we can all live in a cancer-free world. If you want to learn more, you can go to my website at www.go.osu.edu/Santino.
You got to say at least
Oh,
something.
I was going to say, don't put a mic in my face, right? Councilmember Remy, thank you very much. Council members, thank you for recognizing Santino. As a mom, I can't be more proud of what he's done with the tragedy. He lived through the world of cancer. He knows the James more than any, at the time, any 10-year-old should have. But he channeled those efforts into something good. And I just want to recognize, because I know it's happening tonight, if I could, President Hardin, recognize Councilmember Brown. I remember the day about 15 years ago that I walked into his office and told him I was pregnant and that my husband had cancer. And he held my hand and was there throughout my journey. Then we went through his journey. And then he made a promise to my dad before he passed away that he would always take care of us. And true to his word, he has. So thank you, Councilmember Brown. Thank you all for recognizing Santino's efforts.
Councilmember, would you like to say anything?
I'll be brief. I will only say that Santino, your dad and your granddad are proud of you, and so am I. Take care and God bless.
Any of my other colleagues? Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Santino, I want to say thank you. You know, oftentimes when tragedy happens in a family, that sometimes it can be very difficult to transition from that tragedy, what's perceived as it is a tragedy. But in what you have done is taken a situation that no one would ever want to be in. But you took that situation and you have now helped so many other families based upon that. And so you've taken, I always say sometimes life brings us lemons and we have to figure out how to still make lemonade. And you've taken this terrible situation and turned it into a blessing for so many other families. So I thank you for such a young person to be able to do this work. Thank you for making a difference in other families' lives. They may never hear your name, but you will absolutely, on behalf of those families, thank you so much for making a difference. Thank you so much. May God continue to bless you.
Thank you. Anyone? Then I move for adoption, and I'll also recognize Grandma Sandy's back there too, right? So thank you so much. Move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorn, Shaver, Remy, Tyson, President Hardin.
Adopted.
Thank you. Next, I have an announcement on the 2022 operating budget hearing. I'd like to remind everyone that I'll be hosting a public hearing tomorrow, Tuesday, December 7th at 3:30 to discuss the 2022 operating budget for the Economic Development, Environment, and Administration Committees. This hearing will be live via Facebook, YouTube, and CTV Channel 3. To provide testimony via WebEx during the hearing, email Lucy Frank at ljfrank@columbus.gov. That's ljfrank@columbus.gov by noon tomorrow. Lastly, this Wednesday, December 8th at 5:30, I will be hosting a final public hearing on the Council Residential Districting Commission. During this hearing, the Commission will provide an overview of the final maps being delivered to Council next week. This hearing will be live via Facebook, YouTube, and CTV Channel 3. Again, to provide testimony via WebEx during the hearing, email Lucy Frank at ljfrank@columbus.gov by noon Wednesday. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you very much, Council
Thank
President
you,
Hart.
Councilmember Remy. I'll go back to Councilmember Favor.
All right, thank you, Council President Harden. Just a brief announcement. I have two announcements regarding upcoming public hearings. So tomorrow, December 7th, I will host two public hearings on the same day to discuss the CRA residential abatement policy and the creation of the West Broad Street CRA. The hearings will begin at 5:30. As a reminder, the CRA policy is one of the tools that we have in the toolbox to incentivize affordable housing development in our community. For additional information about these two hearings, please contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben, at aaliban@columbus.gov. And then on Thursday, I will host an operated budget hearing for the Committees of Public Service and Transportation, Housing, and Criminal Justice and Judiciary. And that, once again, that's on Thursday, December 9th. These hearings will begin at 5 p.m. And any resident that's interested in providing testimony can once again contact my legislative assistant, Anissa Lieben. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Tyson.
Thank you, President Harden. I have one announcement. I will have the 2022 operating budget hearing on Wednesday at 3 p.m., Wednesday, November the 8th, and for the Committees of Health and Human Services. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tyson. Well, this evening, I have the honor of introducing Resolution 0241X-2021. It's to recognize and honor the service of Councilmember Mitchell J. Brown to the City of Columbus. I think before we go any further, it's important to recognize that we don't serve individually, our families serve. And so I'd like to ask Ms. Becky and family to stand up, Lindsay and all the families, stand up and be recognized before we start to talk about the work of Mitchell J. Brown. Councilmember Mitchell J. Brown was selected as a member of Columbus City Council in January of 2016. As chair of the Public Safety Committee, Councilmember Brown helped implement the body-worn camera program, the Safe Streets Initiative, and made Narcan commonplace for safety forces. Councilmember Brown invested in life-saving innovations for the Division of Fire, including dedicated vehicles for the React team, and launched the Mobile Stroke Treatment Unit, something that we're very, very, very proud of and we know are saving lives. This is just a tiny, tiny sample of what Councilmember Mitch Brown has done in the last several years as a council member. On a personal note, Councilmember has been a mentor of mine since I was a little kid. He has served as a friend, as a steady hand since I've been on council and certainly since I've been council president. And I'm personally grateful for you and what you've meant to me and to my family. But I'm not the only one that wants to recognize and talk about what you mean to them and to this city. And so I'd like to turn your attention to the monitors as we play a short video to celebrate Councilmember Mitch Brown.
would describe Councilmember Brown as a hardworking, dedicated, true public servant.
Respected. To have a career as long as he's had in public service, and every single person you meet talks about how much they respect Councilmember Brown. That is an incredibly rare thing in public service.
He is a courageous person who's fought for people, on behalf of people, with people for his entire career.
Well, first of all, he's the candy man for my kids. Everybody knew that from my family that they could sneak down to Councilmember Brown's office to grab a couple bites of candy, and he welcomed that. But we've been friends for a long time as director of the public safety, and then of course on council. So I'm very excited to wish him well, and go Steelers.
When I think of my colleague, Councilmember Mitchell J. Brown, the word that comes to mind is trailblazer. When we think back over his long career in public service, in public safety, working for the state of Ohio as a director, working for the city of Columbus as a safety director, it is trailblazer. I think back to his story about why he got into public safety in the first place. When his mom was sick in Pittsburgh, as a young African American and could not get the quality care that she deserved, it forced Councilmember Brown to step up and to go and serve as an EMT and help to create the modern day emergency transport systems that we all benefit from today.
And so he really supported and encouraged EMS in the Columbus Division of Fire. And so I always appreciated that as the EMS medical director, that he was a very strong ally when we were promoting the interest of EMS within the fire department.
I've known him for decades, and an incredible friend, mentor, amazing public servant, and someone that has made me much better as a husband, a father, as a public servant.
We interacted in terms of his concern for the safety of the taser weapon when it was deployed with the Columbus Police Department. So he asked me to do a lot of research and get some other input into the safety of the taser. He really saved lives here in this community by a number of things that he did. One of those things was the taser deployment, because I think that really saved lives, both of perpetrators and also police department personnel, where they didn't have to use more deadly force than the taser. And he knew that, and he cared for the community such that he wanted to make sure that that got deployed. And then also just he supported the efforts of defibrillation for cardiac arrest. He supported new equipment and medications for EMS. He supported new engines and ladders and other kinds of equipment for fire suppression. So he did so much that impacted tens of thousands of lives here in our community.
I think he's had an incredible impact, not just as a leader, helping with accreditation under his leadership for both Division of Police and Fire. Incredible work around reform and making sure that our first responders had all the best equipment, tools, resources they needed. And he's continued on that work as a council member, being a great champion for our first responders and really pushing our first responders into engaging with the communities they serve.
Councilmember Brown was such an advocate for seniors, and he was our representative from council for our age-friendly programs and also our villages and all of the things that we do through Central Ohio Area Office on Aging and Franklin County Office on Aging. He helped us put that whole program together, and he really was a tremendous advocate. And he spoke, I remember, at St. Stephen's Community House, and so Councilmember Brown gave a report then, and it was really great, and he's very, very well loved in the community.
I always just considered him to be a great mentor. You know, he was the boss, yes, but he was just always somebody that was helping guide me. You know, we talked philosophy. You know, it wasn't tactical stuff that we talked about, you know. We talked philosophy and how to better communicate. And if you haven't met Mitch, then you don't know one thing about him. And he's all about relationships. but everybody that does know Mitch knows he's all about relationships.
Most folks don't know that Councilmember Brown is actually one of the funniest people in City Hall. I've got the opportunity to sit next to him during my entire tenure on council, and most people see this very serious, respected experts, and what most folks don't know is that in those quiet moments, Mitch has some of the best humor you're going to find in the city of Columbus.
We always enjoyed, red, white, and boom opportunities. He was a star in the video that we shot of Red, White, and Boom, and is still on YouTube today. He was dancing, He's just a fun guy.
If I could describe Councilmember Brown, I would say that he enriches the area that he serves in. He brings to that service a love and a respect for the community and for his job.
Loves his family, and he loves the world. And I hope I'm still a part of that family. And what he has done, I've been a benefactor of that contribution. It's good to be alive around a man like him.
Council member, friend, you have made an incredible impact in our city. We're so grateful for all that you've done, and know this, I will continue to call on you to help us make this city a safe place for families, children, seniors, a great place for businesses to thrive. Know that we're grateful for all you've done, and I look forward to what's next.
I will continue to hopefully get some advice from him every once in a while. I'll call.
First of all, I think everybody needs to know that Mitch Brown lived a life of inspiring others. He did not have an easy life. He fought some battles and overcame them, and went on to inspire so many other people in our community, and his friends, his family. He wanted all of us to be the best that we could be. And that inspiration is something that I will never forget, because it impacted not only me, but our entire community.
I do have one piece of advice on your retirement, Mitchell. This time, really retire. There's no going back. Your lovely wife, Becky, wants you to retire. Look that up in the dictionary and understand what that means. It doesn't mean that you go back to another career or another job. It means to rest. And so I want you to take this time to really rest and enjoy the fruits of your labor from your wonderful and long career.
Thank you, council member. So at this time, we're going to open up the floor for a few members of the community who wanted to offer up parting words. We're going to start with a video message from Ms. Deborah Johnson, Councilmember Brown's sister. Grant, could you roll that for us?
Hi, Mitchie, surprise! Sorry I couldn't be there for this great celebration, but I was there for the first one and maybe the second one. I don't know. I know several times you mentioned retirement, but this time it's for real. And I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your family, for you to have time and just enjoy yourself. And I love you, and we have something to say to you. Happy birthday! Congratulations!
That's awesome. And sister is actually in the audience here. but sister Miss Deborah is not the only person who wanted to stop by and say a few words. We're going to start with, we have several folks. Let's start with Director Clark. I think Director Clark wanted to say a few words as well.
Thank you to President Harden, President Pro Tem Brown, Public Safety Chair Brown, and honorable members of council. I've stood before you on the last several meetings, and I've always talked about responsibility. There are tremendous responsibilities that come along with being Director of Public Safety. And upon my arrival, having the opportunity to meet with Councilman Brown, I understood that responsibility. I understood the legacy. One of those responsibilities is for the leadership and safety of nearly 5,000 amazing women and men who serve every day in places where they are not seen and sometimes not heard. But today I stand before you today with one of the unique opportunities of honor, and that is to honor your service, sir. Honor your service to the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police, Division of Fire, and all of public safety, to this council, to the residents of this city. As we just heard and watched the video and heard the words spoken, there were two words that I did not hear that I want to share tonight. And that is leadership that is surrounded by compassion and leadership that is surrounded by grace. Sir, my friend, my colleague, my brother, my example as a Director of Public Safety, those are the things that are the epitome of your 40-year career, compassion and grace. I only hope to be able to serve in the shadow of your legacy. I understand the responsibility. And on behalf of Chief Bryant, Chief Happ, and all of the women and men in public safety, I would like to present this to you tonight. Council Member and Public Safety Chair Mitchell J. Brown, in recognition of your dedicated and exemplary service to the residents of Columbus, Ohio, we, your friends and colleagues in the Department of Public Safety, celebrate you today, December 6th, 2001. Thank you.
Next, I'd like to call Mr. Tom Stivers to the podium.
President Harden, members of City Council. Good afternoon. My name is Tom Stiver. Mitchell calls me Tommy Stiver, and he has for years. I'm a friend of Mitchell Brown, and it's a pleasure to have the opportunity to share with you a couple stories of my friendship with Mitchell. It's a little strange to refer to him as Mitchell, since when I first met him, he was appointed Registrar of Motor Vehicles for the Ohio Department of Public Safety. He was always Registrar Brown to me. At the time, I was working for a company that was providing outsourcing services of the International Registration Plan, which is a program providing commercial vehicle registration credentials to operate their vehicles in and outside the state of Ohio. Soon after he was appointed registrar, our company was migrating our system solution to a new software release. And in most cases, we experienced a few system challenges. My management was pushing me to move forward with the migration, and at the time, the BMV staff had concerns that we were not ready to successfully migrate the software. One day I get a call from my liaison at the BMV that Registrar Brown wanted to come and meet with me. When the liaison and Registrar Brown arrived, he was dressed in his usual very dapper self. Very nice overcoat, sunglasses, and his trademark French beret. I offered to take his beret and coat, but he said, that he would not be here long, and he preferred to leave it on, along with the sunglasses. I really sort of got the feeling that I was in trouble. We discussed the issue at hand, and he convinced me that we should wait until the registration expiration period had passed before we migrated to software. He knew issues that a registration problem could have caused then the Voinovich administration. He has a way of convincing you that his decision was the correct way to proceed. And with me being a vendor, I totally agreed. And happily, everything worked out fine. But Mitchell, you do have a way of convincing people of what they need to do. In his role as registrar and later as director of public safety for the state, Mitchell, along with his peers from across the other states and the Canadian provinces, were members of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, or AMVA. This group had annual meetings, and back in the mid-90s, you know where I'm going, right? I attended the annual meeting in Rapid City, South Dakota. When I arrived in Rapid City, I soon found out that my company booked me into an incorrect hotel for the conference. I was basically on the fringes of the hood, and I knew I did not want to stay in that hotel. When I went over to the conference hotel later that day, I met then Director Brown in the lobby and told him of my hotel issue. After a few laughs, he invited me to have dinner with he and Becky. During that dinner, he excused himself. And when he returned, he told me, "Tommy, go get your things from the other hotel." He evidently talked to the hotel staff, the AMVA staff, and convinced them that I needed to be at that already sold-out conference hotel. Amazing, and I still don't know how you did it. During the conference, we had an afternoon free for sightseeing or other activities. Mitchell asked if I would be interested in doing some sightseeing, and I readily agreed, and we headed out to the Badlands. From there, we headed to Custer State Park to see the buffalo. If you've ever visited Custer, you know how many buffalo there are in the park and how close you can get to them. We decided to stop, get out of the car, for a closer look at the area that had a few buffalo and a fenced-in portion of the grass area. As we stood there, Mitchell kept saying to Becky and I that one of the buffalo, and I think he thought it was a mother protecting her calf, was not happy, and we really needed to back up. As with all the tourists in the area, Becky and I felt safe behind the fence. And the more agitated that buffalo became, the more we laughed and moved closer, hoping for that charge. When we looked around, our friend Mitchell was back behind the car with his hand on the door handle. After a few moments, Mitchell convinced me to move, and I got the idea I better listen to my client. And I started for the car. At the same time, that mother buffalo had had enough and started to charge that fence. When everything settled down and Becky was safe, who got told that I had left his wife in that dangerous situation? From there, we headed to Wall Drug. And during our drive, we heard that a tornado was approaching the area. I was being told by Mitchell to turn around and go back to Rapid City. Remember who signed your contract. But Becky and I wanted to see Wall Drug. Needless to say, guess who convinced me to turn around? Mitchell, I am so happy that our friendship has maintained over these years. And I thank you for everything that you have done for me and my family. You are the consummate public servant, and I hope that you, Becky, and your family enjoy many and happy years of your retirement. Happy birthday, and I love you, brother.
Next, we'll have Ms. Monica Robinson.
President Harden, and distinguished council members. I'm Monica Robinson, and I'm Mitchell's sister. Debbie thinks she's Mitchell's sister, but actually, he always introduces me as a sister instead of a sister-in-law, so that just speaks to the quality of man that Mitchell is. So I'm going to speak to you about the Mitchell we know at home. Anu, Sammy, Maggie, Hershey, George Bailey, Sadie, Penny Lane, and 2 floppy-eared rabbits. Mitchell was not raised with pets, and I'm not so sure he likes having 2 dogs in the house. But Becky and Lindsay do. Ocean vacations, whitewater rafting, reenacting Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kids jump off a cliff holding hands. He did this with his brother-in-law. Boating, and even being talked into buying a boat. Did I mention Mitchell can't swim? But Becky and Lindsay love the water. Just like Butch Cassidy and Sundance, you may not know, Mitchell can also ride horses. Not so graceful, rather, but he can still ride horses. Mitch was raised in the inner city of Pittsburgh with his loving mother, Aunt Dorothy, cousin Jackie, and sister Debbie. Jackie and Debbie are here today with us. And I want to thank you for sharing Mitchell with all of us. Whereas Becky was raised in the country. So naturally, they bought a cottage in the woods in Hocking County next door to me because Becky wanted to. I have never seen someone so meticulously make a fire as Mitchell Brown. And he always has his fire gloves on, and his hands are always pristine clean. One of the first days at the cottage, Mitchell observed turkey vultures circling in the thermals. Mitch anxiously pointed this out to me, looking up, and he said, "I've seen enough Westerns to know what this means." I assured him, barring a Western shootout, we were all going to be safe. Mitchell is family, above all else. Nothing, I mean nothing, comes before the women in his life, his wife Becky and his daughter Lindsay. For nearly 40 years, he and Becky have formed an unshakable bond, only further fortified by their love and support of Lindsay. Now Lindsay married to Bradley, and they're starting their own family with soon-to-be grandparents just down the street. Don't worry about Mitchell's retirement. His hands will be full of his new, adoring bundle of joy. I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Steelers, of course. Nearly 40 years, Mitchell has held season tickets. We might bleed scarlet and gray in Columbus, but Mitchell bleeds, and last week cried, black and gold. Mitch and I are close. We're very close. We enjoy many of the same things. However, we do have nearly a 35-year disagreement. Do you recall? In the early 80s, we were in Boston at Faneuil Hall watching the street performers. Just across from us, in a crowd, there was a young woman in a black leather jacket. She was smiling and flirting with me, the much younger, thinner, maybe even taller version of me. However, Mitchell thinks she was staring and flirting with him. For your birthday, Mitchell, today, I'll let you win that argument. At times, Mitchell seems like Darth Vader at work. However, with us, his family, he's Yoda, minus the anacity of speech pattern that they use. He is calm, wise, non-judging, caring, compassionate, loving, quietly powerful, and yes, very, very funny. He lives his life with core values and integrity. The loss to public safety and to City Council is palpable. However, the gain of more time with Mitchell is priceless for his family. I'm excited for us to continue your second retirement. During Mitchell's first retirement, we started a fund at Columbus State for Mitchell, under Mitchell Brown's name, for training EMS and first responders. And I'm looking forward to partnering with you to continue that work for that fund. Thank you for all you do, Mitch. We love you.
And last, but certainly not least, we heard about her a lot. His pride and joy for a while, for a few months, until the next pride and joy comes. Miss Lindsay Roberts, Mitch's daughter.
Honored council members, I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I see you all as council members, but with the long career that my father has had, you all feel so much like family. And when he's not at home, I know he's with you all and in good hands. And I thank you for the time and honor and encouragement you've given him throughout the years. So thank you.
Thank you.
When I was told or asked if I wanted to speak on my father, initially I was a deer in the headlights. What could I possibly say? And how much time do I have? 2 to 3 minutes. Yeah, right. We couldn't even get through his initial accomplishments in that amount of time. So then I thought, well, maybe I'd come up here and ramble off the core values from the Ohio State Patrol that my father had me memorize in the 2nd grade. But those are just words. And as you all know, as council members, actions speak louder than words. So instead today, I'm just going to highlight a few of the core values that my father has instilled in me through his actions more than his words. The first one that comes to mind is love. My father and his love for me and my love for him is unparalleled and unconditional. That means I really like spending time with him, which also means that we sacrifice some of that time for him, for his love for the city and the role that he's taken over these many years. There have been countless times where I've woken up in the morning and said, Dad, how'd things go last night? Because I heard the phone ringing off the hook, what I called the bat phone, anywhere between midnight, 3 or 4 a.m. in the morning. And he'd always say, things are challenging, but we're gonna get it under control. That's my dad. And he loves this city. And he has grown in love for this city, also exemplified by the 2nd grade when I first went home and said, Dad, I don't have to go into school in a uniform on Friday. We're having a scarlet and gray day. I don't know what that means. At the time, my dad had been new to the city of Columbus, and he was just catching on to whatever this cult following is of Ohio State. And at the time, he told me, listen, I don't know if we're really in it for the Buckeyes, but if it's a dress down day, we'll get you something to wear. Lo and behold, I eventually became a Buckeye myself and graduated from Ohio State, under the close watch of my father and the police cars that constantly patrolled outside of my residence. So, yes, his love for the city is strong and grows each and every day, and is only more exemplified by the times when I see him out at toy drives, marches, and other city events, As a politician, I wasn't sure how he would do. He was often an appointed official, but the way in which he completely forgets I am with him and shakes the hands of every police officer and person and citizen he can get his hands on when we are doing parades and other events just goes to show how much he loves what he does. The next word that comes to mind and value he has instilled is respect. Now, you heard from some of his colleagues the respect that he's garnered from those that he's worked with, but I can tell you that the measure of a man is not what they do in front of other people, but it's what they do in the privacy of their own home. I know that in the roles he's had, he has generated several adversaries and individuals who may not see things eye to eye with him. But I can also say that at home, when he has talked to me about the challenges of work and the challenges he faces, he always speaks of those with whom he does not see eye to eye with the greatest respect. In fact, I've never heard my father in my 32 years of life speak poorly on anyone that he works with, because he knows that everyone is doing their best in the roles that they're given. And that leads me to one of his most important core values that he has exemplified, and that is integrity. The respect that he gives to those he works with, the city and the council systems, it is immeasured in his integrity by the way that he carries himself each and every day. The values he holds, they are unwavering, and it is an honor and a pleasure to be his daughter, and also to share graciously and wonderfully that many may wonder what he's going to do next. I know I did. Dad, you're getting ready to retire. You're the man who's always asking me about the 5-year plan. What's yours? What is yours? And he has graciously and wonderfully accepted a full-time position as grandfather starting sometime early next spring. And I couldn't be more excited. And in one more quick story, also in his formulation of my youth, integrity is founded for my father in commitment. And as a young person, I signed up. Dad put me in all the sports he could, and got me all sorts of well-rounded opportunities. I loved t-ball. I loathed softball. I did not like it. I signed up for it, and I said, Dad, I want to quit. I don't like it. I could do another thing. I could do this. I could do that. He said, yeah, you could. Next season. Mm-hmm. But this season, you've made a commitment. You made a commitment to yourself. You made a commitment to your team, your coach, and your teammates. Now, you don't have to be the best, but what you have to do is give your best, and give it through this season and honor your commitment. And so I thank, again, all of you in the city of Columbus and the state of Ohio for the time that you have allowed my father to live in integrity and up to the commitment of trying to keep all of us safe. So on that note, thank you, Dad, for all the lessons you've instilled at home and for the city. You're welcome.
That will be literally impossible to follow, but I do, and I think one more word that also exemplifies your father, Lindsay, is pride. Watching his daughter just speak that way as a new father, I think that's the greatest gift. There's nothing else we can do that can match that. But I would like to open up the floor to my colleagues, to your colleagues, to say any words before we pass the resolution and give you your resolution. President Pro Tem.
Councilmember, there really is little that I can say. to match the testimony of those who know you best and love you best. But I want to really just simply say the thing I'm so grateful for about you, among many, many things. What I know for certain is you always see the person first. No matter the issue, no matter the problem, no matter what there is to discuss, to solve, to work on, you always see the person first. And Chief Jacobs said that you are all about relationships. That really stuck with me because I think it's true. And I have benefited from the opportunity to work with you on every issue that we've worked on. I have benefited from knowing you, from learning from you. And I think that it is a somewhat superhuman quality to treat every single person you know with respect, whether you're with them or not. And it is one of the truest things about you. I'm going to miss very much sitting next to you. Not sitting next to you. I've done it every Monday. And I will have less candy, that's for sure, without your supply. But mostly, I know that I will miss your guidance, your friendship, your presence, and I'm deeply grateful for having served with you for my whole tenure on council. Thank you.
This just gets more and more tough. And President Pro Tem Brown is not joking. Literally every meeting that I walk in, I have a Hershey's Kiss here waiting for me from Mitchell Brown. So he's the candy man not only to children, but also council members. Councilmember Brown, one thing I want to mention as well, you have your aging button on. Yes. Aging is so cool, everyone's doing it. And when I look at those pictures of you out there, you have not aged, I think, in like 3 or 4 decades or something. So you're the only person that after like 50 years in public service actually looks just as good as the day you started. So I don't know, it's that clean living of yours. So we all have quite the example to live up to in that regard. I will just say, I can't tell you how much it has meant to serve with you. Becoming a dad this past year with you, talking about the responsibilities that has as someone who, again, we just watched the pride that you have just as your daughter spoke so eloquently about you. If I can do half as good as you did, I will have done my job. And as I mentioned in the video, the quiet moments with you in which we have, especially these last couple years, dealt with some very, very, very difficult issues. That guiding voice and respect that President Pro Tem talked about has been immeasurable, and something that I don't think I appreciated how we operate in a difficult world, doing difficult things. And you are someone that I will constantly think to myself, how would Mitch Brown approach this issue? How would Mitch Brown approach this very difficult topic? That will mean the world to me, and thank you for sitting next to me my entire time here. Thank you for making me a better person, a better policymaker, and hopefully a better dad. So thank you.
So I'm slightly emotional right now, and it really is, it's amazing to see the commitment that we don't often see. People spending most of their years at a single place, and you chose public service, but I believe public service chose you, and you answered the call. And you've done it with dignity, you've done it with integrity. You've been a mentor to so many people that have sat in these seats. And there's a saying that you may not remember everything that you did for someone, but you will always remember how that person made you feel. And you welcomed me 3 years ago, literally with open arms and some candy. And Sometimes we have different perspectives, and you still honor those. You allow the conversation. You allow for different viewpoints. And that is so appreciative. I know that I could not sit in this seat if it was not for someone like you, Mitch. And I feel that it is my responsibility to represent this city to the best of my ability because I stand on the shoulders of amazing public servants that look like me. So I thank you for your commitment to this city. I thank your family for sharing you with us and 900,000 other people. And I truly wish you well on your next stage of your journey. And P.S., if you need someone to take care of your puppy, me and Corey are always available to take the reins of your dog. Thank you so much for all that you have done.
All right, guess it's my turn. We've known each other for a long time now. First as a community leader, coming into your office and talking about safety issues throughout the community and building that relationship that led ultimately to me serving next to you. And what an honor it's been to know you all these years. And your work in public service, or public safety, and then of course on council. You know, I always tell people how this is like family up here. We don't always agree about everything, but man, this is it's hard to express how much all of you mean to me, and especially you and your leadership and guidance over the years. And I hope that travel is a big piece of what you get to do in the near future. I know we talked about this at lunch last week, and hopefully get into a few more Steeler games too, because I know that'll be a big, that you put those tickets to use. I mean, you've had them all these years. It's hard to make sometimes on a Monday. But, thank you to Becky and Lindsay for sharing him with us and with the city of Columbus, because without you, I don't know where we'd be in a lot of respect. And so I want to just say I'm going to miss you, and don't believe you won't be getting plenty of calls in the future. I can assure you that. So don't change the number. But we love you and appreciate you more than I can ever express. Thank you.
Mitch, first of all, I just really want to just say thank you. I have known you for quite some time when you were the safety director, and I served on the Civil Service Commission, and certainly had the opportunity to meet with you regarding any issues or concerns in the safety forces. And during that time, you always was someone that a person of integrity, we tried to solve problems together to make the safety division better. You are an honorable man. You are an honorable man. Your word is your bond. If Mitchell Brown says he's going to do something, you don't even have to question it. It is absolutely going to happen. And you can't say everyone is honorable. That word means a lot. But you are that person. I just appreciate everything you've done. If you're just watching the film today, the tape, and listening to the speakers, It has been a life well lived to service for others. And sometimes, people can forget what individuals have done. They don't necessarily know the history. They just see the person that sits before them today. Hopefully, anyone that watched this video today and listened to the speakers will know see that the impact you've made on this city and in this state, and also as you served in the military. And it has mattered to the residents of this community. And even though it's time for some of us to take a different path, that is why you will still hear people say, you're going to be sorely missed. Because of the experience, and experience does matter. I'm not trying to say that experience matters. It matters. Because that experience is what has been so important to moving our city forward. Our city is not perfect, but it certainly is better because of you. So when you think about, can one individual make a difference? Yes, they can. And you are that one of the individuals has made a difference. But a group of people collectively can change the world. And very few people have the opportunity to sit on this dais and change the world. And that's what we do. And you have been integral to being able to change our city, to change our state, and to change our country. So I thank you. I thank your family. And you will be sorely missed. And I just hope that no one will ever forget. We can't forget because you got a building with your name on it. I can't forget about that. I put a little humor here. But no, seriously, I just really appreciate who you are as an individual. So thank you for being an honorable man. I know your mother would be so proud of you, that the differences you have made. So may God continue to bless you and your family. And your grandchild is so blessed to be born in the Brown family. God bless you, and I look forward to our continued relationship. Thank you so much for sharing your time with this body and for this community.
Councilmember, I'm going to be brief only because in my notes it says insert personal antidote here. And as I thought about that when I saw it earlier, I realized that my personal anecdotes with Councilmember Mitch Brown are so personal that I can't share them on this dais. I met you when I was 13, when we went to the mayor's office. And as someone who I felt kind of like I grew up in this building, grew up around giants, you mess up as a kid. You mess up as you grow up. And I certainly was not immune to messing up along the way. And certainly after my father passed, and you look around for those men that can play a certain specific role of being both a protector, but also a strong word, but through that strong word, you know it's coming from safety, from a point of safety. More times than not, and certainly that we can't talk about on this dais, you have protected me. And for that, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for all that you've given to the city of Columbus and to the state of Ohio, and really to this nation for your service. But tonight, my personal anecdote will stay personal, but I will tell you, you are my confidant and my mentor, and someone I am very, very blessed to have had in my orbit, and look forward to seeing your next role as Safety Director Grandpa. Before we pass the resolution, members of council banded together and got you this gift. And Mike, would you help us unveil this? This is a piece of art, and it was created by local artist Wendy Kendrick, and it is presented as a retirement gift on behalf of all of your council members to Councilmember Mitchell Brown. It is the King. Then we thought that the King of Hearts, we thought that that would be appropriate for Mitchell J. Brown. If there are no further comments, I'm going to turn it over to you, but I want to pass we also are giving this framed resolution on behalf of all your colleagues, honoring your work as to the city, but certainly to this council. Clerk, please call the roll. Is there a second?
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Adopted. The floor is yours.
Council President, thank you. And all those who are present, I am absolutely and unequivocally blessed. I have some friends who showed up today from Cleveland. I have in the audience the former editor for the Columbus Dispatch, who we developed a friendship, and I appreciate the fact of him being present this afternoon, and of course my friends from Cleveland. My family is obviously the most important thing to me. My wife, my daughter, and they surprised me by bringing my sister here from Houston and my cousin from Pittsburgh. A brief story so you can appreciate where I come from. My cousin Jackie knows my history better than anybody because we've been together since I was born. In Pittsburgh, how did I get involved in all this? I'm often asked, how did I decide to do the things that I do? I come from a household of very, very strong women. My aunts, my cousin, and my mom, and my grandmother. And when my mom got sick, and I came home from work and found her on the floor, and I picked her up and put her on the sofa, called the police back in the day. And 2 police officers showed up, came upstairs, looked at my mom and said she had been drinking and they were not going to take her to the hospital. It made an indelible impression upon me. I picked my mom up. I told them she had not been drinking. And I carried her down the steps and put her in the back of a paddy wagon. And we took her to the hospital. She laid in the hallway of the hospital for over an hour before anybody took care of her. She passed away 5 days later from a cerebral hemorrhage. I made some mistakes in my day, one of which was I didn't explain to my sister what had actually happened. She pointed that out to me a few years ago, and to which I apologized because I tried to protect her from what was going on. But she knows I love her. I had a very, very strong distaste in my mouth about police and also about hospitals. But God, in God's infinite wisdom, when I went into the Air Force, went into the Armed Forces, I was in charge of the flight. God made me the person in charge, and I had studied about computers. So I thought, this is going to be cool. I didn't need to learn how to fight because I already do know how to do that. So I figured, all right, when the orders came through, I'd get into computers. They promised me I'd get into computers. Instead, they made me a medic. I said, a medic? I don't want to do this stuff. I don't want to be a medic, man. I hate medicine. They're responsible. And I remember to this day, I got transferred to Wichita Falls, Texas, and I was in charge of the flight again. And my sergeant said, Brown, you're a pretty smart guy. How come you're doing so poorly? I said, can I speak freely? Because you always ask, can you speak freely when you're in the military? And he said, yes. I said, well, I hate this stuff. And I didn't say stuff. And he said, well, what do you think is going to happen? I said, well, my drill instructor said I can come back and at the Lackland Air Force Base and be with him, and I could do that. And he said, oh, no. That's not going to happen, Brown. He said, you're going to be a cook in Oklahoma. I said, what? Where? A cook? You mean like cooking food? He said, yeah, you're going to be a cook. I was 47th out of a class of 50. I went from 47th to 3rd. It's called incentive. And then I learned all about emergency medicine and learned how to jump out of helicopters and did all kinds of great and wonderful things about emergency medicine. And when I got out of the Air Force and I came to Pittsburgh, we lived in the Hill District, which is predominantly African American. And my aunt said, baby, you need to go talk to these people about this stuff they're riding around in these ambulances. And I said, what is it? And she said, well, I don't really know, but you need to find out. So I went to the University of Pittsburgh. I spent time waiting out in the office of Dr. Peter Saffer. Dr. Saffer is the father of CPR. He invented the techniques of doing cardiopulmonary resuscitation. And I waited outside of his office. And when he came out, he said, how can I help you? I said, well, I want to learn about this program. And he said, well, you don't know anything about all this. I said, I'm better than anybody you got, man. All right? I'm that good. To which Dr. Saffer, in his infinite wisdom, took me down to the emergency department, and we proceeded to evaluate patients. And he said, you really are good. He said, what? I said, well, yeah. Got involved in emergency medicine, and I vowed that no other person would have to suffer what I did about my mom as far as taking care of people. When I interact and listen to Director Clark and my friend Bob Stewart to appreciate my feelings about police, yes, they make mistakes. It's up to us to teach and educate them to make them better. When we get involved with firefighters, it's to make sure they understand to be compassionate and to take care of people who can't take care of themselves. That has always been, and how did I get like that? Because God made it happen. I mean, I kept saying, why are you making me do this stuff? I don't quite understand. God always tilted me in that particular direction. I've been fortunate and blessed, and my wife and I, to understand what I do and how I do it. And you've heard from my lovely daughter, and you heard from my sister. Well, you heard from my sister Monica. There's also my sister Debbie and my cousin Jack. My cousin, just so you all understand, my cousin Jackie, she was with me when I got appointed as the commissioner of EMS in Cleveland in 1980. Her and my Aunt Dorothy were there when I got sworn in by the mayor to run EMS. And it's only fitting that she be here today, knowing that this is my next to my last council meeting. And the thought that I would ever be involved in politics is just unthinkable. It was absolutely unthinkable. I grew up, again, we didn't have black council members in Pittsburgh. We did not have only a few black police officers who I ended up knowing pretty well, or ended up knowing me, I guess, pretty well. We had that kind of relationship in the sense of seeing me, that I would someday be a member of city council. I take the job very, very seriously. I appreciate and respect each and every one of you. that I've worked with over these past 6 years. And the complexities of passing legislation. For me, making the transition from being the person who tells people what to do and then help them do it, as opposed to preparing legislation in order for them to make something happen. It's a totally different ballgame. It really and truly is. And I had to adjust to how to do that. Bob Stewart knows me very, very well in the sense of when I tell somebody to do something as the director, I expect it to get done. And if it does not get done, you got a problem. And Bob knew that. And so coming to city council was like, okay, how do I do this? How do I make this transition? And I've tried to do my best in that regard. And trying to take care of the citizens of the city of Columbus, it is an honor to serve on city council. My friend Danny Price and his wife are out there from Cleveland, know what it was like for me as the director in Cleveland. We had a council member there, I'm not going to say her name, who would at first give me the blues. I mean, she would give me the blues. But we developed a relationship. And she ended up calling me 10-speed and brown shoe. That was me and the chief of police. She's like, and you know who I'm talking about, Danny. You develop, again, an appreciation for the fact that the job that we do does have an impact on the community. It really and truly does. And I am humbled by the fact that I got elected to city council. I did not, certainly wasn't my choice, wasn't my plan. And for all of you, you know that the council president and some other folks said, please, we want you to do this. I said, nah, that's not my thing, man. I'm not, no. And the council president and a couple other folks said, okay, you can do this. I said, I'm not asking for money. I don't do that. When you come from my world, you don't ask people for stuff. You figure out a way to get it on your own. But I said yes, and I appreciate the fact that it was a good yes. Working with all of you has been something that I have recognized and appreciate. We've had the benefit of Angie Blevins. Angie, you have no idea, when I first got here, I said, Angie, what do I do? And she said, Director, just be you. That's all you got to do. She said, I'll get you through all this other stuff. Most of you don't know that I knew Angie because of Jerry Hammond, who I knew many, many years ago. And Angie, I want to take the moment to say thank you. It's really important to help me work through all this in the right way. And it's special. And I say to each and every one of you on city council, don't take the job for granted. It's important. What you do makes a difference. And how you do it makes a difference. People look up to you and have great expectations for the work that you do, and they expect, not demand, they expect integrity. And it's up to you to provide all that. That's what makes this so very, very important for me. Yes, I am a person about relationships. That's how you get stuff done. I comment about Bob, but give him the tools and let him go do what he's got to do. My job is to help you get the job done. And that's exactly what council is supposed to be about. How do we help people get the job done? And that in of itself is very, very important. So for me, I have been blessed again. Those of you who don't know, I'm a 13-year cancer survivor. You heard from that little young man there, Aunt Santino. His wife, or his mom, Brooke, worked for me. I was around when he was born. And what a wonderful young man he's turned out to be. And Brooke's comment, yes, I knew her father. And he asked me to make a promise, and I did the best I could to uphold that promise. If you say you're going to do something, then you do it. But you do it with the recognition that you took the time and the effort to learn all there is to do about that circumstance. So you're not making an impulsive decision. You're making a well thought out decision. That's what it's all about. And when you think They said Jim, who had cancer, and Michael, who had cancer. And for whatever the reason, the good Lord let me hang around for a little bit longer. So I am pleased. I am blessed. I love my family, and I love my friends more than I can say. It's what I'm really all about, and it's what I'll always be about. So with that, Council President, thank you. And to each and every one of you, thank you for serving with me.
Mitchell J. Brown, one more time for Mitchell J. Brown. Now you got to get back to work, council member. You still have to. I would like to thank a few folks that helped put this together. I see Lee Cole, who is no longer with us, but she worked so hard on this. So thank you, Lee. To Miss Angie, thank you so much for all you did. To Stanley Gates in our community affairs team, thank you so much. To Miss Linda, thank you so much. And to Councilmember Brown's staff team, they did amazing work.
Forgive me for not having taken a moment to acknowledge Grant Ames, who's sitting over there wearing a bow tie. I don't know where he got that from. and obviously Denise Friend Foster, who's over here. Council President, just so you know, Denise worked for me almost over 30 years ago.
Wow.
And I had to convince her to come be my aide, and she willingly accepted. I had to twist Henry's arm, but he said, okay. But yes, my staff has been absolutely stellar, and I miss them and look forward to making sure they have a nice and easy transition, so thank you.
Of course. With that, we're going to go ahead and recess so we can get ready for zoning, and then we will come back. May I have a motion to recess? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Reed, Tyson, President Harden.
Recess. We'll take 5 minutes, and then we'll start zoning. Grants is pretty good. Madam Chair, we ready? Regular meeting number 55 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
It's not a good time. Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Praise the Lord. Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
We will now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Tyson chairs this committee and all members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents and 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side. And we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the city attorney's office, anyone who wishes to speak either for or against a council variance, including staff, must be sworn in prior to giving testimony. We do so prior to beginning the reading of each variance on the agenda. First, will the clerk read the ordinance numbers of items on the agenda that require waiver of second reading?
2699-2021, 2700, 3017, 3069, 3073, 3074, 3098, 3099, 3135, 3141, 3146, 3147-2021.
Thank you, clerk. Now I move to waive second reading.
Second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Waived.
Thank you. The first ordinance is 2699-2021 to rezone 375 East Fifth Avenue, being 8.26 acres located on the south side of East Fifth Avenue, south of the terminus of North Grand Avenue, from the M Manufacturing District to the AR3 Apartment Residential District and the AR1 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is CGV LLC, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Italian Village Commission's recommendation is approval 211. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. I will. Thank you. Ordinance 2700-2021 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3333.02 AR 12, ARLD, and AR1 Apartment Residential District Use. 3333.03 AR3 Apartment Residential District Use. 3312.09 Aisle. 3309.14 Height Districts. 3333.16 Fronting. 3333.255 Perimeter Yard. And 3333.18 Building Lines of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 375 East Fifth Avenue. To permit commercial access in the AR1 Apartment Residential District and the AR3 Apartment Residential District, and reduce development standards for a multi-unit residential development. The applicant is CGV LLC, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Italian Village Commission's recommendation is approval 401. I now would like to have a staff presentation.
Good evening. The applicant has received a recommendation of approval from staff and the Development Commission for a concurrent rezoning to the AR3 Apartment Residential and AR1 Apartment Residential districts to allow multi-unit residential development. The requested council variance will permit the development of 261 dwelling units and 330 surface and structured parking spaces on Site 1 in the AR3 district, and 130 dwelling units with 170 surface and structured parking spaces on Site 2 in the AR1 district. Variances are requested to allow commercial access through the site for the adjacent Clark Grave Vault Company and to reduce aisle width, maneuvering area, frontage, perimeter yard, and building line, and to also increase building height. Staff finds the requested variances to be supportable as they are consistent with recent similar urban infill residential developments and achieves a mix of uses along the East Fifth Avenue corridor as recommended by the Italian Village East redevelopment plan. Therefore, staff's recommendation is for approval, and I would be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row. Sorry.
Oh. I move to amend as submitted to the clerk. Thank you, and now I move for passage.
I apologize. Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amend it.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is a variance, and it is variance 3017. So anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will.
I will.
Thank you. Ordinance 3017-2021 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.38H, private garage, 3332.21 building lines, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted, and 3332.38G, private garage of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 862 Mohawk Street, to permit habitable space above a detached garage with reduced development standards in the R2F residential district. The applicant is Michael Cornelius and Susan Rowley, care of Chad Draham, Attorney Draham. The proposed use is a habitable space above a detached garage. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the German Village Commission's recommendation is approval 6-0. I'd now like to have a staff presentation.
The site consists of a single-unit dwelling zoned in the R2F residential district. The applicant requests a council variance to permit the construction of habitable space above a new detached garage. A council variance is necessary because the zoning code only permits habitable space above a garage when it's connected directly to habitable space in a dwelling. The request also includes variances to building lines, minimum side yards, and garage height. Staff supports the proposed variances as the request is consistent with similar proposals that have been approved in the area. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues regarding this legislation? Seeing none, I now move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you. Now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 3069-2021 to rezone 3900 Scioto Darby Creek Road, being 2.01 acres located on the north side of Scioto Darby Creek Road, 750 feet west of the Scioto Parkway, from the R1 residential district to the LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is Hidden Creek Landscaping, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is landscaping, contractor's yard, and wholesale retail nursery. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the West Scioto Area Commission's recommendation is also approval 5-0. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 3073-2021 to rezone 86 North Yale, being .38 acres located at the southeast corner of North Yale Avenue and Cable Avenue from the R4 Residential District to the AR1 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is New City Homes LLC, care of Dave Perry, attorney. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Franklinton Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, 1401. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. The next ordinance is the variance. So anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Thank you. It's ordinance number 3074-2021 to grant variance from the provisions of sections 3333.02, AR12, ARLD, and AR1 apartment residential district use, 3312.49C, minimum numbers of parking spaces required, 3333.12, AR1 and AR4 area district requirements, 3333.15D basis of computing area, 3333.18D2 building lines, and 3333.255 perimeter yard of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 86 North Yale Avenue to permit a multi-dwelling development on a lot containing less than 20,000 square feet with reduced development standards in the AR1 apartment residential district. The applicant is New Homes LLC, care of David Hodge, attorney. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Franklinton Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 1401. I would now like to ask for a staff presentation.
The applicant has received a recommendation of approval from staff and the Development Commission for a concurrent rezoning request to the AR1 Apartment Residential District, which will allow a new multi-unit residential development. The requested council variance proposes a 12-unit multiple dwelling development consisting of 3 buildings, each containing 4 units. Standard variances are requested for a reduced lot area, building lines, perimeter yard, and a parking space reduction from 18 required spaces to 14 provided spaces. Staff supports the request due to the high-quality site and building design committed to with the associated site plan and elevations, which align with Columbus Citywide Planning Policy's design guidelines and incorporate sufficient street trees and additional screening along the southern parcel line to buffer adjacent lower-density residential uses. The parking variance is supported due to the walkable nature of the neighborhood, availability of on-street parking, and proximity of transit and bicycle infrastructure. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. Are there any questions for Ms. Pine? Seeing none, I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit. And I now move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Thank you.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you, and now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 3098-2021 to rezone 2970, 2990 Woodson Drive, being 3.2 acres located on the east side of Woodson Drive, 1,000 feet north of Scioto Darby Creek Road from the R1 Residential District to the M2 Manufacturing District. The applicant is Dennis Hecker and Kathy Hecker, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is boat and RV storage business. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the West Scioto Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, 6-0. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Thank you. The next ordinance is variance 3099. So anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Thank you. It's a 3099-2021 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3312.43 required surface for parking, 3321.09 screening, 3367.15 ACE M2 Manufacturing District Special Provisions, and 3367.29 storage, with a property located at 2970 and 2990 Woodson Drive, to permit reduced development standards for a boat and RV storage business in the M2 Manufacturing District. The applicant is Dennis Hecker and Kathy Hecker, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is boat and RV storage business. The City Department's recommendation is approval. And the West Side Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, 6-0. I would now like to have a staff presentation.
The applicant has received a recommendation of approval from staff and the Development Commission for a concurrent rezoning request to the M2 Manufacturing District for the intended expansion of an adjacent boat and RV storage business. Variances to required surface for parking, screening, M2 Manufacturing District special provisions, and storage are included in this request. Staff supports the requested variances, noting that the request is consistent with the development standards of the existing business, which received similar variances. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pye. Any questions for Ms. Pye? Seeing none, I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
That's okay. Now I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. Perfect.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Thank you, and now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
The next ordinance is the variance. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, and this is 3135, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Thank you. 3135-2021, to grant a variance from the provision of sections 3332.037 R2F Residential District, 3333.035 AR Apartment Residential District Use, 3312.21 AD1 Landscaping and Screening, 3312.273 Parking Setback Line, 3312.49C Minimum Numbers of Parking Spaces Required, 3321.05 A1 Vision Clearance, and 3325.705 Supplemental Parking Requirements, 3325.801 Maximum Lot Coverage, 3325.805 Maximum Floor Area Ratio, and 3325.809 Landscaped Area and Treatment, 3332.21D Building Lines, and 3332.25 Maximum Side Yard Required, 3332.26 minimum side yard permitted of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 2333 and 2339 Neal Avenue, to conform a 12-unit apartment building to permit a 3-unit building, and with reduced development standards in the R2F Residential District and the AR4 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Buckeye Real Estate, care of Dave Perry. The proposed use is residential uses. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the University Air Commission's recommendation is approval, 11-2-2. I'd like to now have a staff presentation.
The site consists of an existing 12-unit apartment building in the R2F Residential District and an existing 2-unit dwelling split zoned between the R2F Residential District and AR4 Apartment Residential District. Additionally, the site is subject to the University District zoning overlay requirements. The requested council variance will conform the existing 12-unit apartment building and will permit the addition of a unit at 2339 Neal Avenue, the existing 2-unit resulting in a 3-unit dwelling. Variances to parking setback, building setback, vision clearance, parking lot landscaping and screening, supplemental parking requirements, lot coverage, floor area ratio, landscaped area treatment, side yards, and a parking reduction from 18 required spaces to 14 provided spaces for the 12-unit apartment are included in this request. The site is within the planning area of the University District Plan, which recommends medium-intensity residential land uses at this location. The proposed uses are consistent with the plan's land use recommendation, will not add incompatible uses to the area, and are compatible with the adjacent land uses and the development pattern of the area. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. I now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Ordinance 3140-2021 to amend ordinance 745-2021 passed April 5th, 2021 for property located at 2600 Stelzer to repeal section 1 and replace it with a new section 1 to correct the parking and building setback variances for proposed apartment complex. Again, this is an ordinance amendment. The proposed amendment repeals section 1, which had a parking and building line setback at 15 feet, replaces with a new section 1 that corrects the variance to the intended 10-foot setback. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval, 7-0. If there are no questions or comments, I first move to amend to emergency.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Amended.
Thank you, and now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is a variance, variance 3141. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. All right, this variance is to grant a 3141 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3367.01 M2 Manufacturing District of the Columbus City Code for property located at 5210 Trayview Road to permit a truck rental business in the M2 Manufacturing District. The applicant is Trayview Walcott LLC, care of Laura McGregor Comac, attorney. The proposed use is a truck rental business. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Far West Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 601. I'd like to have a staff presentation, please.
The site consists of one parcel zoned in the M2 Manufacturing District that is currently being developed with an office warehouse building. The requested council variance will permit a truck rental business, including maintenance and service of the vehicles to be rented, within a separate building on the site. The variance is necessary as this use is considered to be a C4 commercial district use, which is not permitted in the M2 district. The site is within the planning area of the Treby-Roberts Area Plan, which recommends employment center uses at this location, a classification that includes offices, technology park clusters, research and development, light industrial operations, and visitor service establishments, with retail only as a secondary use. Although the requested use has a commercial component, the nature of the business is such that it is supportive and complementary to the predominant pattern of light industrial uses within this area. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit. And now I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Adopted.
Thank you. Now I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 3146-2021 to rezone 1179 East Main Street, being 1.61 acres located at the southeast corner of East Main Street and Oakwood Avenue from the C4 Commercial District and the R3 Residential District to the AR2 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is 1179 East Main Street Redevelopment LLC, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Near East Side Area Commission's recommendation is approval, 711. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. The next ordinance is a variance. It's variance 3147. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Thank you very much. Ordinance 3147-2021 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3333.025 AR2 Apartment Residential District use, 3312.21 D1 Landscaping and Screening, 3312.273 Parking Setback Line, 3312.49 C Minimum Numbers of Parking Spaces Required, 3312.05 A1, and then B2 Vision Clearance, 3333.18 Building Lines, the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1179 East Main Street. to permit commercial vehicular access and reduce development standards for a multi-unit residential development in the AR2 apartment residential district. The applicant is 1179 East Main Street, Redevelopment LLC, care of Dave Perry, agent. The proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. The City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Near East Area Commission's recommendation is approval 711. I would now like to have a staff presentation.
The applicant has received a recommendation of approval from staff and the Development Commission for a concurrent rezoning request to the AR2 Apartment Residential District. The applicant proposes a 4-story, 85-unit apartment building and requests a use variance to permit commercial vehicular access through the site and standard variances to reduce parking lot landscaping area, vision clearance triangles, and parking and building setback lines, and also includes a parking space reduction from 128 to 108 spaces. The Planning Division generally supports the proposed site plan included with the request, which provides adequate landscaping and includes additional bicycle parking in order to offset the requested parking reduction. Conceptual building elevations have been reviewed and are consistent with the Near East Area Plan design guidelines. The requested variances are reflective of recent residential infill development projects in urban neighborhoods and allows reduced setbacks consistent with existing buildings along East Main Street. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit, and I now move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. Now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And the final ordinance in zoning this evening is a variance 911-2021. Anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against this council variance, including staff, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will. Ordinance 911-2021 to grant a 911. To grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3332.039 R4 Residential District, 3332.05 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 3332.15 R4 Area District Requirements, 3332.19 Fronting, 3332.25 Maximum Side Yards Required, 3332.26 Minimum Side Yard Permitted, and 3332.27 Rear Yard of Columbus City Codes for property located at 1135 Neal Avenue, to permit a 2-unit dwelling and a single-unit dwelling, a carriage house on one lot with reduced development standards in the R4 Residential District. The applicant is Mike Navarro, care of Daniel Fertelman, agent. The proposed use is a 2-unit dwelling and a single-unit dwelling, carriage house on one lot. And the City Department's recommendation is approval, and the Victorian Village Commission's recommendation is approval 3-0. Ms. Pine, I would like to ask for a staff presentation, please.
The undeveloped site is zoned in the R4 Residential District. The requested council variance will permit the development of a 2-unit dwelling and a single-unit carriage house dwelling. A council variance is required because the R4 Residential District permits a maximum of 4 dwelling units in one building, but does not permit 2 separate dwellings on one lot. Variances to R4 residential permitted uses, the required number of parking spaces, lot area, rear yard, and fronting are included in the request. Staff finds that the proposal will not add incompatible uses to the area, is consistent with the recent development pattern in this historical urban neighborhood, and notes that the building design will conform to the Victorian Village Commission requirements. Therefore, the City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. I accept the entire report into evidence as an exhibit. And now, first, I would like to take it from the table.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Move from the table.
Thank you. I now move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
He's saying he's objecting, but we don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Yes. Yes, I'm interjecting. And objecting, I'm Mike Navarro. I am the owner of the site. There is an error on the sections. Section was supposed to be in 3312-49. That was sent to me, that was approved back in November, or last month. Kelsey Freebie.
Yeah.
Can you please, Mr. Navarro?
Yes.
Can you please just come to the podium and share what this is?
Over here?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
The issue is.
Yes, so we were approved in November for a reduction in parking from 6 to 3. And we received the emails from Kelsey Preeby, that's the planner too for the city, stating that that would be insert into this council variance meeting. I have the emails, I have the actual highlight that I received from her. And just want to make sure that that is.
Ms. Pye, that's the amendment, is that correct?
Yes, that's the amendment. It's just when you read the title, you were reading from the old ordinance that, because it hasn't been amended yet technically, so yes.
Mr. Navarro, you're fine, so that's what I'm giving, we're going to amend as submitted to the clerk, and that amendment is there.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so we've already taken it from the table. We've already moved to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council. I didn't do that.
Is there a second on that one? Clerk, please
Thank
call the
you.
roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Okay.
Thank you. And I amend as submitted to the clerk.
Please, clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Amended.
Thank you, and now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, and that concludes the zoning agenda this evening.
Seeing no further business coming for the zoning committee, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. Do we need time or we want to go into it? Let's roll. Is there a motion to reconvene meeting number 54? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
The next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee. The committee is chaired by President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden.
Just joking. I haven't done anything that you need to do to start council.
Oh, right.
I guess there's some procedural, some things that are kind of important. Yeah. Oh, no, that is my fault. May we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30-day legislation? Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Will the clerk now read into the record ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation?
Finance Committee, ordinances 3036, 3127-2021. Public Safety Committee, ordinance 3012, 3071, 3156-2021. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 1759, 2749, 2907, 2934, 2935, 2937, 2938, 2939, 2943, 2947, 2953, 2975, 2980, 2987, 2989, 2992, 2999, 3049, 3108, 3120, 3129, 3132, 3154, 3172-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinance 3122-2021. Housing Committee, ordinance 3279-2021. Zoning Committee, ordinances 3138, 3139, 3155, 3159, 3165, 3166, 3186, 3193, 3195, 3225, 3226, 3236, 3237, 3238, 3239, 3240, 3241, 1694, 3015, and 3016-2021. Rules and Reference Committee, ordinances 2278 and 3061-2021.
Seeing no speakers to come before on the first reading, the following ordinances appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those ordinances into the record?
Finance Committee, ordinances 2759, 2800, 2940, 3021, 3057, 3086, 3145, 3163, 3191, 3200-2021. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinance 3152 and 3251-2021. Public Safety Committee, ordinance 2974-2021. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 2439, 2811, 2900, 2906, 2915, 2979, 3157, 3187, 3188-2021. Technology Committee, ordinances 2898, 3002, and 3126-2021. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 2925, 2952, 2957, 2994, 3053, 3111, 3116, 3148, 3149, 3185-2021. Housing Committee, ordinances 2720, 2995, 3009, 3024, 3025, 3038, 3042, 3043, 3044, and 3094-2021. Economic Development Committee, ordinances 2932, 2997, 2998, 3013, 3039, 3040, 3041, 3168-2021. Environment Committee, ordinances 2991, 3003-2021. Administration Committee, ordinances 2983, 3077, 3212-2021. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 3014, 3026, 3060, 3076, 3085, 3089, 3097, 3117, 3118, 3121, 3134, 3136, 3137, 3205, 3210, 3217-2021. Building and Zoning Policy Committee, 3164-2021. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0221 to 22-2021.
Any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion approval by voice? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? Yes. Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Dorrance? Yes. Ms. Faber?
Yes, with the exception of ordinance 3097-2021, from which I would abstain.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes, with the exception of 3024-2021 and 3026-2021, on which I am abstaining.
President Hart?
Yes. Ordinances are passed. Now we will proceed with the second reading and table legislation. The first committee to come before council is the Finance Committee chaired by Councilmember President Pro Tem. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in Finance, we have Ordinance 2961-2021 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to establish various purchase orders for automotive parts for the Fleet Management Division per the terms and conditions of various previously established universal term contracts, to authorize the expenditure of $1 million from the Fleet Management Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Fleet Management Division is budgeted to spend $5.5 million for automotive parts in 2021, and Council allocated $4.5 million at the beginning of the year. So this funding will allow the division to continue its repair work until passage of the operating budget early next year. Emergency actions being considered so that supply of parts remains uninterrupted. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, Tyson. President Harden?
Passed.
Next is Ordinance 3046-2021 to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget to authorize the transfer of $500,000 between projects within the safety voted bond fund, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into contract on behalf of the Office of Construction Management and the Department of Public Safety with Roberts Service Group Incorporated for a construction services task order basis contract, to authorize the expenditure of $500,000 from the Construction Management Capital Improvement Fund, to authorize the expenditure of $500,000 from the Public Safety Voted Bond Fund, to authorize the appropriation expenditure of $175,000 from the Law Enforcement Contraband Seizure Fund, and to declare an emergency. This contract provides the Office of Construction Management with the resources and technical expertise needed to respond to small-scale renovation projects for city facilities across multiple departments. And this funding will help cover work that is needed between now and, again, the passage of the operating budget early next year. Are there any questions? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. I'm going to go a little bit out of order, and then we'll go back. So I'm going to skip 3272 to, I'm going to skip to 3272 -2021, which is to authorize the Director of Development to apply for and accept a grant from Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Cities for Financial Empowerment Incorporated, to authorize the Director to enter into nonprofit service contract with Jewish Family Services of Columbus for planning the launch of a financial empowerment center, to authorize an appropriation and transfer within the Neighborhood Initiative Subfund, and to authorize an expenditure within the Private Grants Fund, and to declare an emergency. Jewish Family Services will use these funds to hire 3 financial counselors and 1 program manager to provide free, professional, one-on-one financial services as a public service, financial counseling as a public service to residents. This will be done through a financial empowerment center model. So Columbus is one of 35 local governments across the country that are working with CFE Fund to offer this proven model, which includes a $150,000 grant from CFE Fund to support the launch of this work. As background, in 2019, we partnered with Mayor Ginther and the Columbus Women's Commission to win a competitive grant from CFE Fund to create a financial empowerment roadmap for Columbus. The focus is helping women and families achieve financial security. And when we launched this work, it was prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, at which point 1 in 4 women in Columbus were financially insecure, with Black and brown women facing disproportionate financial challenges and hurdles. Women have since experienced higher rates of job loss, a slower job recovery than men during the pandemic, worsening those financial hardships that many women and families in Columbus already faced. So in response, CFE Fund developed a new opportunity through which Columbus was awarded $80,000 last year. This funding helped launch the free Financial Navigator program to support families' increased need for resource navigation during this health and human services crisis. Through the roadmap, the financial counselors and the financial navigators, we call them, and then now the free financial counseling through the Empowerment Center, our focus continues to be on providing resources and support for families who need our help in this city. Emergency actions being considered so that these services can be launched as soon as possible to provide that resource for families across Columbus. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. And now I'm going to go back to Ordinance 3203-2021 to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an auditor's certificate in the amount of $1 million to fund the support of the Columbus Promise Initiative, to authorize the transfer of $1 million within the general fund, and to declare an emergency. I'm going to hand things over to Council President Harden now to discuss the Columbus Promise, which includes this ordinance in finance, and then when this is done, one more ordinance in Education Committee. So, Council President?
Thank you, President Pro Tem, for your partnership on these 2 ordinances. A few weeks ago, I stood with partners from Columbus State, Columbus City Schools, and I Know I Can to announce the Columbus Promise. The Columbus Promise allows all new Columbus City School graduates to attend Columbus State Community College for free. All that graduating seniors need to do is fill out the FAFSA, or the free application for federal student aid, and complete the Columbus Promise scholarship form. Any one of our kids that applies will be accepted and can go to Columbus State for free. The two ordinances on the agenda tonight help kickstart the Columbus Promise. Ordinance 3203-2021 helps set aside $1 million as part of the city's $4 million contribution over the next 4 years. The second ordinance establishes the fund at the Columbus Foundation where public and private dollars will be housed to pay for students to go to college for free. The city will seed that fund at the foundation with $1.2 million in general fund dollars. To this point, more than $2 million have been committed from the private partners, with more commitments coming in every week. Those private contributions will go into this fund that we are creating this evening. We are really excited to see this legislation on the agenda for this initiative. We've been working on it for more than a year, and it's great to see that this is becoming a reality. And so we would just encourage everybody, and you'll hear me and hopefully the entire community talking about the FAFSA. There is help out there. You can go to the Columbus Promise website, and we just need everybody who's eligible, anybody who's graduating from Columbus City Schools, to fill out your FAFSA. It automatically makes you eligible for this free scholarship to Columbus State. So we encourage you and would look forward to partnering to help move that along. Thank you so much, President Pro Tem.
Didn't turn my mic on. I attended the Columbus City Schools Partnership Convocation today, and they really made the Columbus Promise a centerpiece of what partnerships can do in our city and what partnerships can deliver for CCS students. So I know on behalf of everyone who's there, they're thankful for this work. And I would like to take a moment to laud your really your tireless work, but your dogged focus on solving a problem. And it is come to fruition here tonight, and that's incredible.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yes, Councilmember.
Yes, thank you, President Pro Tem Brown. I too want to just say thank you and congratulations. This is certainly a game changer. When you think about our young people, when you think about just the lack of wealth that families, especially Black and brown families, don't have the funds to be able to send their children to college, and or even to get the skill sets to be able to get the certifications to be able to get a well-paying job, that to be able to have this partnership with Columbus State means so much to families in this community. And so I'm just going to share, I was talking to someone on the phone last week, and I said, so this family member's will be graduating this year from Columbus City Schools. I said, so what's your family member going to be doing? Oh my goodness, this person is going to apply for the Columbus Promise. They're going to go to Columbus State because of this. And so, not that I wasn't expecting that. It was just like, so the parent was so excited for this opportunity for their family. So again, this is a game changer, and just so appreciative of the hard work over the year of working on this to make this a reality for young people in Columbus City Schools. And I know this will be a success and change the lives of our young people. So thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you, Council Member. And I move for passage. Oh.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
We will also have time for comments after the portion in education, which I'm going to move to right now, since I messed that one up. So in Education Committee, we have Ordinance 3243 to authorize the Director of the Department of Education to enter into contract with the Columbus Foundation to serve as charitable gift recipient for the Columbus Promise program, to authorize an appropriation and expenditure within the Job Growth Subfund, and to declare an emergency. If there are any further comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Passed.
Great, thank you so much. And then I have one final ordinance tonight, is in rules and reference. May I do that,
Please.
Council President? We have Ordinance 3192-2021 to enact and repeal various code sections in Title II of the Columbus City Codes in order to transfer the Department of Education to the office of the mayor and to declare an emergency. I would like to ask Deputy Director Long to please share more about this change and the mayor's preference to reorganize portions of his administration in this ordinance. Are you with us virtually, Deputy Director? Great.
I am. Good evening, President Pro Tem Brown, President Harden, and members of council. This ordinance
If you're speaking,
represents
Deputy Director, we can't hear you.
Thank you, sir.
And how about that?
Okay, now we can, yes.
Great. Sorry about that.
No problem.
So, good evening, President Pro Tem Brown, President Harden, and members of council. Sorry about the technological issues there. This ordinance represents an opportunity, we believe, to incorporate the Office of Education into the larger operations of the Office of the Mayor. Education remains a top priority of the mayor, and the important focus, leadership, and work of the Office of Education will not change. This transfer creates efficiencies by giving the Office of Education access to human resources, communications, fiscal, and policy resources of the larger mayor's office. And as such, we believe it's a good fit for the Department of Education to formally transfer within the Office of the Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Director Long. And no matter where they're housed, I know I'm looking forward to continuing to work with Director Smido and Assistant Director Adams as they focus on expansion in access to high-quality pre-K classrooms, as well as supports for parents, children, and teachers in our early learning landscape here in Columbus. Are there questions from my colleagues about this ordinance for myself or Deputy Director Long? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Safety Committee, chaired by Councilmember Mitch Brown. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. This evening, I have Ordinance 2993, 2021, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Public Safety Department to enter into a contract with Celebrite, Inc. to extract digital evidence from cellular phones to solve crimes for the citizens of Columbus, to waive competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to authorize the expenditure of $130,378 from the Law Enforcement Seizure Fund. Currently, the Digital Forensic Unit cannot decrypt the newer iOS and Android phones with current forensic software, thereby making high-level evidence extractions unattainable. The request with regards to bid waiver, I'm going to ask Director Clark to speak to that request. Director Clark?
President Harden, President Pro Tem Brown, and members of council, on several occasions I've appeared before council and I've explained that the uniqueness of the technology that is available to us in law enforcement today is really sole proprietary. I'm very familiar with the Cellbrite technology. Having used that in the federal system as well as supporting local agencies around the country is absolutely critical. I think we all recognize that there's been a history of issues being able to get data timely from both Android and Apple iPhones for a variety of reasons, particularly in the terrorism realm, having experienced that personally myself in San Bernardino, California in 2015. To be able to utilize this technology is not just getting technology, but it's the accountability, the new rules and regulations and procedures, and the standards of procedure that are being enacted by Chief Bryan and her executive staff that will come along with this technology so that we not only use this responsibly, but we use this timely to be able to acquire information that essentially could save lives, not only in Columbus, but around the nation and around the world. We recognize that the criminals that we're dealing with, that they are communicating on these platforms and sharing information, sharing strategic and tactical information that allows them to operate much more effectively and efficiently. And Cellbrite just allows our officers and our investigators, as well as our partners, to be able to intercept that information and ward off anything that could be potential threats and harm to the citizens of Columbus, as well as around the nation and the world.
If there are no questions, Councilman Favor? Ladies first.
Yeah, Councilmember Favor.
I think the two attorneys are probably about to go the same route, but, you know, my first instinct is right to privacy. So can you explain how this will, where's the line drawn? Right.
Sure. We'll always have to follow the normal rules and regulations of the court in criminal investigations and criminal procedures, and that is the burden of probable cause. Ensuring that we have probable cause to be able to get into these devices. Clearly, there is a crime that has been committed. Our officers, in accordance with the new regulations and rules and procedures that the chiefs are putting in place currently, that we'll still have to adhere to a very high standard and a high level of probable cause to be able to access these devices.
But that probable cause is extending to the notion that there's data on a cell phone, information on a cell phone.
That is correct.
Right, so it's just not, in any criminal case, right, if you've gotten to that point, that we're not going to be accessing residents' cell phones.
That is correct. We'll have to establish that that particular device was utilized in the commission of a crime and be able to establish that probable cause before the court.
Yes. Councilmember Dorns?
Thank you, Chair. So getting to, I think, a little bit further of what Councilmember Favor is pointing to, I just wanted to, it's probably not really as much of a question, but certainly you're welcome to weigh in. So Ohio is one of the few states that actually has a controlling Ohio Supreme Court case that addresses that. I think in the conversation you just had, just to underline the point a bit, the Division of Police has to get a warrant from a judge for that particular cell phone under State v. Smith from Ohio Supreme Court decision 2009. Again, not every state has that. Not every state has addressed that within their highest court. We have here in Ohio.
That's correct.
So here we have a clear guideline from a court saying there has to be a warrant, again, under that standard that you just articulated, and without that, the Division of Police cannot use this technology.
That is correct. They will have to establish probable cause that that specific device, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, was used in the commission of a crime, be able to provide that probable cause in a warrant affidavit with a probable cause statement articulating that particular device was utilized in a crime, and then be able to utilize the technology.
Thank you, Director. I just want to make sure that residents are very clear about the legal standards that are in place and then the requirements that triggers within the division in order to be able to access this type of tool that we're purchasing here tonight.
That is correct, Council Member. They will have to establish a probable cause before the court in a search warrant for that particular device.
Thank you, sir.
And Director, if I'm not mistaken, is it not true that we currently have the capability of doing this now, it's just that the newer phones prohibit our forensic units from being able to gain access, correct?
That is correct. I hate to age myself and date myself right now from where cell phones used to be to where they are now.
Yes.
They're essentially mini computers now, and the technology is so advanced and advancing every day that Cellbrite has done an excellent job at keeping up with the technology to allow law enforcement to, again, based on probable cause and a warrant, access those devices.
Exactly. If there are no questions, additional questions from my colleagues, Councilor Tyson?
No.
Then I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Also this evening, I have Ordinance 3059, 2021, to authorize the transfer of funds within the general fund to authorize and direct the city auditor to establish an auditor certificate in the amount of $4 million for the purchase of body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, and interview room cameras for the Division of Police, to authorize the expenditure of $4 million from the general fund and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the city auditor to reserve budgeted funds that will be used to enter into contract with a vendor for body-worn cameras, in-car cameras, interview room cameras. A selection committee from the Department of Finance and Department of Public Safety and Public Service recently completed the final stages of the best value procurement with a final vendor. Negotiations with that vendor will likely be ongoing through the end of the year. This ordinance will establish an auditor certificate that will be used to honor the contract and avoid losing the funds at the end of the year. This is a continuation of the body-worn camera project started in 2016 to outfit all police officers with video recording systems that is typically used by law enforcement to record interaction with the public or gather video evidence at a crime scene. Emergency action is requested so that the funds needed can be encumbered before the end of the year to avoid any lapses. Director Clark, do you have any additional comments?
Again, having the opportunity to appear before you this evening, I've already shared that technology is expensive, but we recognize that we are in an era where transparency and accountability is paramount. This new equipment has been tested in the field among a variety of officers here in the Division of Police. We've been through many briefings. I've been through many briefings to really understand the advancement of that technology and where this is going to bring us in terms of equipping our officers, all of our officers, who may be called upon at any moment to address a situation that happens in our city. So all of our officers will be equipped with this equipment, including our bike officers, our horse patrol. All the police officers in the Division of Police will have this equipment, and it will allow us to bring the accountability and transparency that not only you have requested and demanded, but our residents have requested and demanded as well. And it is the latest technology that's out there that is available. And as I have shared with you before, our women and men who work very hard every day deserve the very best that the industry can provide them. And this new equipment will be just that, the very best the industry can provide, so that we can assure you that we have the latest and greatest process of accountability, responsibility with the equipment that we provide our officers.
Again, ladies and gentlemen and council members, the legislation we have before you today addresses the issue of the continuation of our body-worn camera system. If you remember, 4 years ago, I addressed this body about the initiation of body-worn cameras. The technology has improved significantly over the years. As you heard from Director Clark, one thing that is really significant is what's called automatic triggers. So the officer does not have to activate the camera in any way. Once it is moved off of their utility belt or they exit from the automobile, the camera is automatically activated. It is valuable. You've heard the director speak to the issue. And I think, again, technology has changed. We have to change with the technology.
And if I could just add these couple of points, because this has come up recently, about response times. This new equipment will be geospatial activated. So when officers arrive on scene of their call, we'll be able to capture that geospatially so that we understand when our officers are arriving on scene. The system we have in place now is antiquated. If the officers rush out of the vehicle, don't hit the button if they've arrived. So we have very skewed response times. So we've been digging into that for quite a while. This new camera will allow us to geospatially arrive at a scene and be able to capture that. In addition to that, the vehicles will be equipped with the same equipment as well. So they will speak to one another, what's on the officer, what's in the car. Also, our interview rooms will be equipped with a lot of this equipment from this particular company to allow us to, again, have the same process in our interview rooms and our interview process.
Again, if there are no questions from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Director Clark, and thank you, Council President. That's all I have this evening, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in the Public Utilities Committee, we have ordinance number 2792-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter a construction contract with Kenmore Construction, Inc. for the Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant Digester Process Expansion Project, to authorize the appropriation and transfer of $27,765,100 from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $27,765,100 from the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund, to authorize expenditure of $2,000 for prevailing wage services to the Department of Public Services within the Sanitary General Obligation Voted Bond Fund, to amend Ordinance 2762-2020 in order to increase the maximum dollar amount of this project's Ohio Water Pollution Control Loan Funding Loan Award to not exceed $27,765,100, and to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget. The Southerly Wastewater Treatment Plant is currently digesting all biosolids in an existing digester drain. The addition of this chemical-enhanced primary treatment can overwhelm the system due to lack of capacity, which will be alleviated by providing additional digesters to meet peak capacity demands, and with providing process upgrades to create a more efficient digestion system. Do any of my colleagues have any questions about said digestion? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 2808-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter into construction contract with Underground Utilities, Inc. for the Chestershire Road Area Water Line Improvement Project, an amount of up to $2,913,088.26 to encumber $2,000 for prevailing wage services provided by the Department of Public Service, to authorize the appropriation transfer of $2,913,088.26 from the Water System Reserve Fund to the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund, to authorize the appropriation of expenditure of $2,913,088.26 within the Water Supply Revolving Loan Account Fund, to authorize expenditure of up to $2,000 within the Water General Obligation Voted Bond Fund for the Division of Water, and to authorize an amendment to the 2021 capital improvement budget. The goal of this project is to replace or rehabilitate the existing water lines that have a high break frequency in the greater Hilltop and downtown planning areas. Replacement of these water lines will improve water service, decrease burden on maintenance operations, and reduce water loss. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Pass.
Next, we have ordinance number 3029-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to negotiate and enter into a renewable energy purchase agreement, interconnection agreement, and benefit sharing agreement for the Division of Power, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code for those agreements, to authorize the Director of Finance to enter into license and lease agreements as necessary related to the interconnection agreement, to authorize the expenditure of $1 from the Electricity Operating Fund for each agreement, and to declare an emergency. The Columbus Solar Park is developed by SWACO and BQ Energy on a 173-acre SWACO-owned property that once served as Franklin County Sanitary Landfill and is located between Jackson Pike and I-71 in Grove City. This project is expected to be completed in late 2022 and will connect the new solar array to the electric power grid through the city's Division of Power. AP Energy will be the initial purchaser of 100% of the output of the solar park that BQ Energy Development LLC will build. This power will be a key component of Columbus's clean energy aggregation program. After approximately 3 years of operation of the facility, the city will purchase 50% of the solar energy generated for city-owned utility customers. And after approximately 8 years of the operation, the city will purchase 100% of the output of the solar park for our city customers that are serviced by our city-owned utility. The Department of Public Utilities seeks to waive competitive bidding provisions of city code relating to the award of contracts to allow the department to negotiate a renewable energy purchase agreement and interconnection agreement with Columbus Solar Park LLC, an affiliate of BQ Energy Development LLC, and negotiate a benefit sharing agreement with AEP Energy Partners, so the most beneficial purchase power price, capital costs, and other savings can be realized between the parties for the benefit of all power customers. This ordinance is requested to be an emergency measure to allow negotiations to begin and be completed at the earliest possible date. And finally, let me say that was a lot of numbers and a lot of years we just described. But the important thing is to know that this project is an exciting step in Columbus, stepping up the plate in clean energy development, not only for our own aggregation program, but also for those residents that are served by our city-owned utility. A project like this creates good-paying construction jobs, and just as importantly, helps to do our part here in Columbus to fight climate change with clean energy generation. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Second. Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Council President, with your permission, I'd like to move on to the Technology Committee.
Please.
Thank you. In the Technology Committee, we have ordinance number 2888-2021 to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology to modify a contract with Convergent One, Inc. for the purchase of hardware, licensing, professional services, and co-term maintenance and support services with Genesis Interactive Voice Response System, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $589,523.01 from the Department of Technology Information Services Division Capital Improvement Fund, and to amend the 2021 capital improvement budget and declare an emergency. Genesis Pure Connect is the city's standard interactive voice response solution for city services that interface with the public, such as the city's 311 call center, parking services, public utilities, and many others. This tool has experienced rapid growth in usage within the city as a way for the public to interact with city service and offerings during this pandemic. This contract will provide co-term maintenance support and support for the duration of 5 years through April 30th, 2026. The additional time is to allow us to build out the entire system maintenance support while continuing to have coverage. Emergency action is being requested to make sure that the necessary and contract purchase orders for the services described work out in a timely manner to ensure there is no service interruptions, as again, many city residents are interacting with city services through this provider. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 3011-2021 to authorize and direct the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $2,500,000 to enter in a contract for the implementation of a comprehensive cybersecurity program for various city agencies, to authorize the expenditure of $2,500,000 from the Information Services Operating Fund for the purpose described above, and to declare an emergency. The city is in need of a universal system for addressing cybersecurity issues to be adopted and practiced throughout the whole city. The Department of Technology services 21 quasi-independent departments encompassing 6 elected offices and 15 administrative agencies, many with IT investments unique specific to their department. Overall, the city's IT investment of approximately $60 million is growing by about 32% annually in new and or upgraded tech purchases. Further, the number, scale, and state of whereabouts of the city system's data and connected devices is unknown. As such, the city is in need of a universal system of risk, tech, cybersecurity, and contracting practices that are consistently practiced and monitored throughout all of the city's procurement and all of the departments. Through solicitation of proposals, the Department of Technology will undertake a 3-phase approach in establishing an ongoing citywide IT cybersecurity plan and privacy plan. The first phase will be to identify and assess current and future cyber threats. Once detailed, the department will triage the threats and takes actions to remediate them. The final phase will be to maintain all secure city systems. Department of Technology, within 2 years, will bring all city systems up to code and secure new purchases as they occur to meet these needs. Emergency action is being requested so that a certificate can be established prior to the city auditor's 2021 year-end deadline. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance number 3028-2021 to authorize it and direct the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $5 million to develop and implement various projects, including a new integrated computer-aided dispatching and records management system on behalf of the Department of Public Safety, to authorize the expenditure of $5 million from the Information Services Operating Fund for the purpose described above, and to declare an emergency. Public safety's computer-aided dispatching and records management system have evolved over time with many iterations. Throughout this evolution, these systems have been customized in ways that are unique to the city of Columbus. Understanding these customizations is vital to the successful development and implementation of an integrated CAD and RMS platform. With a portion of the above noted funds, the Department of Technology, via solicitation of proposals, plans to conduct a needs assessment for the eventual upgrade or replacement of both the CAD and RMS systems. DOT also plans to use these funds to help support other city officer wellness programs. As part of this effort, DOT will work with public safety to identify, integrate data from multiple sources into a data analytics platform geared towards enhancing wellness of officers. As with the CAD and RMS projects, DOT plans to solicit proposals for this project with funds on the certificate authorized by this ordinance. Emergency action is being requested so that the certificate can be established, again, prior to the city auditor's 2021 year-end deadline. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Next committee to come for council is the Public Service and Transportation Committee. That committee is chaired by Councilmember Favor. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President Harden. Tonight in Public Service and Transportation, we have Ordinance 3010-2021 to authorize the city attorney to file complaints in order to immediately appropriate and accept the remaining fee simple and lesser real estate necessary to timely complete the Arterial Street Rehabilitation, Hudson Street Phase 2, I-71 to Cleveland Avenue project. to authorize the expenditure of $8,493 from existing ACD I001358-10 and to declare an emergency. The city must acquire certain fee simple title and lesser real estate located in the vicinity of Hudson Street between I-71 and Cleveland Avenue, collectively called real estate, in order for the Department of Public Service to timely complete the project. The city's acquisition of the real estate will help make, improve, or repair certain portions of the public right-of-way of Hudson Street between I-71 and Cleveland Avenue, which will be open to the public without charge. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3107-2021 to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into professional service contracts with American Structure Point Incorporated and DLZ Ohio Incorporated for the roadway material testing and inspection 2021 project. To authorize the expenditure of up to $300,000 from the Private Construction Inspection Fund and up to $700,000 from the Construction Inspection Fund to pay for the contracts and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the Director of Public Service to contract with American Structure Point Incorporated and DLZ Ohio. The intent of the request for proposal was to award 2 contracts to provide the City of Columbus, the Department of Public Service, with additional resources for the continuing contractual access to construction inspection, services, and material testing for the City of Columbus projects. This contract may also be used for non-city projects for which the city is providing construction inspection, services, and material testing. Are there any questions or comments by my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Council President, may I move on to housing?
Please.
Thank you. Tonight in housing, we have Ordinance 2996-2021 to authorize the appropriation of $1,677,150 from the unappropriated balance of the Land Management Fund to the Department of Development to provide funds for the administration of the Land Redevelopment Division for the budget year 2022 and to declare an emergency. This legislation appropriates $1,677,150 from the unappropriated balance of the Land Management Fund for the administration of the Land Reutilization Program, or also known as the Land Bank. This appropriation and expenditure is for the 2022 fiscal year and is in addition to funding provided by the division from the general fund. The Land Management Fund was created in September of 1998 to provide funds for various expenses associated with the management and maintenance of properties held in the Columbus Land Bank. We do have one speaker objecting tonight, Mr. Nate Wilkins. Welcome back to council, Mr. Wilkins.
There was a correction on that. Mr. Lieutenant George Wilkins, 1612 Arlington Avenue. I'm really for this, but again, would it be questionable of looking for more money? $4.8 million, some sense. I know we talked about land bank, but I need some questions answered here. So we talk about this budget here, beginning 2021 to the end of 2022. I would like to see more money utilized for this is because not extending this for 1 year, not 2 years, but maybe 5 years, 5 years. And let me say why for 5 years. When you talk about the land bank, there's going to be multiple properties around here or vacant land, whatever you want to call them. But in my eyes, I see opportunity for empty houses, empty commercial structures. Won't we utilize this money for commercial structures, torn up properties? I'm utilizing for $8,775, $885,000. That's why I want to see this money to be utilized for more than not 1 year, but more than 5 years through the state of Ohio. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins, for your testimony. Director Stevens, are you still on the call with us?
Yes, Chair Favor, I'm here.
Thank you. If you could speak to Mr. Wilkins' concern that this legislation is only providing funding to the land bank for 1 year, and the historic nature of us bringing this legislation on an annual basis to continue with the services of the land bank.
Well, good evening, Council President, Chair Faber, members of council. Since 1998, so next year we'll be going on our 24th year of operating our land bank. So while I understand Mr. Wilkins' concern, we have consistently gone to council and received council support for funding the land bank operation for almost a quarter of a century. In addition to just these land bank funds, as you indicated earlier in your comments, we're also putting some general fund dollars to the maintenance and operation of our land bank. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Wilkins, does that get to the heart of your question? Okay. Director Stevens, if we could have someone from your team to follow up with Mr. Wilkins about just how the funds will be used to support and how they have been used in the past to support the land bank.
Will do. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Are there any additional questions or comments by my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, Faber, Remy, Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The next committee to come before council is the Economic Development Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Remy. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. These first two pieces I am going to ask to table as the Department of Economic Development to continue to work on details associated with both of these ordinances. First ordinance is Ordinance 3051, 2021, to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a two-part citywide jobs growth incentive agreement with The Ohio State University and or other OSU-affiliated entities, collectively grantee, for a term of up to 25 consecutive years in consideration of the creation of up to 12,000 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $950 million to be created or having been caused to be created by the grantee. I move to table until Monday, December 13th, 2021, by voice.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? Yes. Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Faber? Abstain. Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is tabled.
Next is Ordinance 3171, 2021, to create the Innovation District TIF encompassing undeveloped or to be redeveloped parcels on OSU's West Campus within the city, to declare improvements to those parcels to be a public purpose and exempt from real property taxation, to require the owners of those parcels to make service payments in lieu of taxes, to require the distribution of the applicable portion of those service payments to the city Columbus City Schools, to establish a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund for the deposit of the remainder of those non-school service payments, and to declare an emergency. I move to table until Monday, December 13th, 2021, by voice.
Second.
Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown? Yes. Mr. Brown? Yes. Mr. Dorans? Yes. Ms. Faber? Abstain. Mr. Remy?
Yes.
Ms. Tyson?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes, ordinance is tabled.
And that's all I have in the Economic Development Committee. With your permission, Council President, I'd like to move to the Environment Committee.
Please.
Thank you very much. Our first ordinance in environment is Ordinance 3004, 2021, to authorize the transfer of appropriation within the general fund from financial management to the Division of Refuse Collection, to authorize the waiver of the competitive bidding requirements of Columbus City Code, to authorize the Director of Public Service to enter into agreements to rent refuse collection trucks from Premier Truck Sales and Rental, to authorize the expenditure of up to $300,000 to pay for this rental, and to declare an emergency. The Division of Refuse Collection is responsible for providing weekly refuse collection to the 344,000 residential units within the city of Columbus. Prior to COVID pandemic, it took 9 to 12 months after placement of orders to receive a refuse collection truck. The shutdown of many businesses during the pandemic has caused long delivery delays for these trucks. The projected delivery date of replacement trucks previously on order has been delayed by many months, and delivery times for new orders are now running 12 to 18 months after receipt of order. The division is experiencing a shortage of refuse collection trucks due to downtime needed for repairs of an aging fleet, and the delays in getting replacement vehicles have been ordered. It is necessary to immediately rent refuse collection trucks to continue to provide timely refuse collections to the residents of Columbus. This will also allow the division to be able to collect refuse during the normal work week hours and to avoid routinely scheduling mandatory overtime. The rental of these vehicles is expected to be needed for at least a year to give time for the trucks that have been ordered and for the trucks that are about to be ordered to be delivered to the city. An assessment of delivery times of the vehicles on order will be made in the spring of 2022. At that time, it may be necessary to rent additional trucks to accommodate further deficiencies in the division fleet due to the ongoing pandemic-related production delays. Director Gallagher, could you provide any additional details you may have on this ordinance?
Yes, thank you, Council President Harden, other members of Council, Chair Remy. We are asking for this ordinance because we are in need of refuse vehicles. We found 2 companies that do rental vehicles in Ohio. Unfortunately, only one company is able to supply us trucks that had trucks available now. They will be able to supply us with 3 refuse rental trucks in January if we are able to pass this legislation tonight. We will have those 3 trucks available, like I said, in January for us to start using. Our purpose and goal of using these trucks is to put these trucks into alleys to be able to top off the overflow of 300-gallon containers. And so we will be able to hopefully stop some of the overflow and illegal dumping / trash laying in the alleys in between our normal pickups, as well as supplement our normal pickups with our side loader vehicles with these 3 rentals that we are hoping to get with these funds. And like you said, we are hoping that we will only need them for a year. We will reassess that in the spring as we place our other orders. If you have any other questions, happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And that is all I have in the Environment Committee. With your permission, Council President, I'd like to move on to administration.
Please.
In administration this evening, the final ordinance I have is Ordinance 2981, 2021, to authorize a transfer of $12,000 within the general fund to authorize the Executive Director of the Civil Service Commission to modify and increase a contract with Winfred Arthur Jr., PhD, for the execution and assistance with the finalization and implementation of the recommendations associated with the independent audit of the Columbus Police Officer recruiting testing process as recommended by the Columbus Community Safety Advisory Committee, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Codes so as to allow the modification and increase of this contract, to authorize the expenditure of $25,000 from the general fund, and to declare an emergency. In accordance with the recommendation number 13 of the Columbus Community Safety Advisory Commission, the Civil Service Commission has been tasked with overseeing an independent audit and eventually assisting in the finalization and implementation of resulting recommendations for improving the Columbus police officer recruiting testing process. Final audit results and recommendations are soon to be released by Dr. Arthur, and as such, the Civil Service Commission needs to modify the existing contract and increase the maximum authorized expenditure in the contract in preparation for the finalization and implementation of recommendations associated with the completed audit. I'm going to turn the floor over to Liz Reed, the Assistant Executive Director with the City of Columbus Civil Service Commission. Liz, the floor is yours.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Yes. So for the audit that has been completed by Dr. Winfred Arthur is complete. We are in the final stages of doing a little bit of cleanup work to ensure the numbering and all of that is correct, and then that will be ready for release as soon as that's completed. The The legislation that's before you today is to help with the implementation of that. So should we need his assistance through the implementation stages, that's what this funding is requested to do. Currently, the stakeholders in the police officer selection process are currently working on many of the recommendations, and we hope to have everything in place for next year's police officer process. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Reed. Appreciate your comments this evening. Are there any comments or questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
And that's all I have on my committees this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The final committee to come before council is the Health and Human Services Committee. The committee is chaired by Councilmember Tyson. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. I have ordinance number 3091-2021 to authorize the Office of Celebrate One to accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Medicaid, which is administered by the state's managed care plans for the Enhanced Maternal Health Program in the amount of $1,130,000 to authorize the appropriation of $1,130,000 from the unappropriated balance of the General Government Grants Fund and to declare an emergency. This grant will allow the current contracts to be increased and extended for 6 months. Grant funding will provide continued investment in the centering pregnancy options in priority geographic areas through the Heart of Ohio Family Health Centers and Primary One Health, while also strengthening prenatal home visiting teams at Ohio Health, Nationwide Children's, and Columbus Public Health. In addition, this grant provides support for culturally informed doula care through Restoring Our Own through Transformation, maintains trauma-informed prenatal support through Moms to Be, and provides support to the information and referral line. It also, the step 1 for healthy pregnancy. Also, this grant ensures that the community's strong core of community health workers at Celebrate One and Men for the Movement and the YMCA of Central Ohio continue to connect women and families to services and resources that support a healthy pregnancy. In addition to this ordinance, to support health equity and efforts to reduce infant mortality, on the consent agenda this evening, ordinance number 3089-2021 was passed. This legislation provided funding in the amount of $451,500 for Columbus Public Health's Moms and Babies First Black Infant Vitality Program, which also offers culturally specific home visitation program that provides in-home family-centered service coordination and education services to high-risk, low-income African-American pregnant women and their infants to age 1 who reside in 14 specific Columbus zip codes. And again, all this work, this legislation that was passed on consent, as well as legislation 3091, which is on second reading, is so important because the goal is how to reduce infant mortality for specifically our Black and brown children so that they can live not only to their first birthday, but again, to be able to live a really full quality of life. And if there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And the final ordinance in the Health and Human Services Committee is ordinance number 3125-2021. Is to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept grant funds from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the amount of $3,254,768 and any additional funds for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program. To authorize the appropriation of $3,254,768 and any additional funds awarded from the unappropriated balance of the Health Department's grants fund, to authorize the city auditor to transfer the appropriations between object levels for the Ryan White Part A HIV grant program and to declare an emergency. The Ryan White Part A HIV care grant's purpose is to improve access to medical care for persons living with HIV or AIDS in Central Ohio. And the goal is that each client will achieve viral suppression, which improves their overall quality of life and reduces the risk of spreading this infection. In 2020, this grant program for Central Ohio served 2,397 people living with HIV through programs including outpatient and ambulatory medical care, mental health services, medical case management, early intervention services, housing services, non-medical case management, and emergency financial assistance and medical transportation. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage to support individuals living in our community with HIV or AIDS.
Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. And now that concludes the Health and Human Services Committee agenda.
Thank you, Madam Chair. See no further business to become before council. May I have a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy Tyson. President Harden.
Meeting is adjourned. We have two non-agenda speakers.
Avenue. I'm speaking to this property because it breaks my heart every day living in this community. There's nothing being done. As I stand here today to talk to you about a dangerous property right now in Cleveland Avenue. It's 2319 Cleveland Avenue. It's unfortunately, when I come down here all the time, this is what I'm facing with. This property here sits as an IC, okay? I walk this block going to work. I work at a different location on High Street now. It's called Kroger's. It pains me to death to look at certain things in certain parts of the neighborhood. This neighborhood is a hidden gem and jewel. I would say this is because on the holiday time, I'm gonna be sitting down with my wife up in Cleveland, Ohio, to talk about tearing this down quickly. It's because it pains me to live in my community and I gotta walk past something like this every day. There's other property that was like this several years ago at 2431, 2435, as the bricks had fell in, somebody ran into the property.